Photosynthesis by definition is the process by which green plants and some other organisms use sunlight to synthesize foods from carbon dioxide and water. The plants also harvest kinetic energy in sunlight and store it in the bonds of carbohydrates. Well, what are carbohydrates? Carbohydrates are large organic compounds found in many foods and living tissues. Some examples of these are sugar, starch, and cellulose. Carbohydrates also have a 2-to-1 ratio of hydrogen and oxygen. Now when the carbohydrates are consumed, the 2-to-1 ratio is broken down to release energy in the animal's body. But going back to photosynthesis, plants take their electromagnetic energy from the sun and convert it to chemical energy, thus storing that energy into ATP and NADPH. Basically, the plant takes in CO2, sunlight, and water to initiate photosynthesis. But what are the byproducts of photosynthesis? They are no other than glucose and oxygen. Plants store glucose as starch and oxygen is released out into the air. Now, why are plants making oxygen and sugars? Who are they benefiting? They are benefiting humans and animals. Humans and animals are in dire need of oxygen. Their lungs, their blood vessels, their way of thinking, their way of life is oxygen. Oxygen is used in cellular respiration and is needed as the final electron acceptor to make ATP, which is a huge source of energy for humans and animals alike. Glucose is also a very important factor for in humans and animals. Glucose is used to produce energy for the body and is carried to all the cells throughout the body. Basically concluding the fact that photosynthesis is the way to life. Now the big question, can humans live without photosynthesis? It isn't so much as to we can't, but how long? How long can we live without photosynthesis? If photosynthesis came to an abrupt halt, can the human and animal race survive? Based on this diagram, the primary producer, plants, have a productivity of 1000, let's say, energy. When the primary producers are consumed by primary consumers, the energy transfer is only 20%. Furthering the process, when the primary consumers are consumed by secondary consumers, the energy transfer is 15%. When it finally makes it to the top of the food chain, only 10% of energy is transferred. So no matter the food chains, there is always a 90% energy loss. Same goes for oxygen. Oxygen is produced in plants as a waste product. When plants stop photosynthesizing, they are no longer taking in sunlight. Yet plants are in need of energy, so what they do is they burn the sugar that has been stored by using oxygen. This process is called cellular respiration. Cellular respiration by definition is the set of the metabolic reactions and processes that take place in the cells of organisms to convert biochemical energy from nutrients into ATP, and then release waste products. Thus, if photosynthesis were to end, the supply of oxygen will become scarce in a matter of time, since all living things need oxygen to survive. If plants stopped photosynthesizing, eventually the amount of energy that humans could actually convert into energy would run out, thus knocking down the level of food chains until it reaches rock bottom. If photosynthesis were to cease, plants will disappear. That leads to all its dependent creatures to also disappear. In other words, the human will face an ultimatum challenge to survive.